shepherd I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures.
My name is Stephen Flock. I was born in Hollywood, Florida, and lived for the first few months of my life in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. The majority of the story takes place in Stephen City, Virginia. The things you see in movies and TV and hear from your grandparents is a ghost story. It's not too far-fetched. There's no cliche about it. Since childhood, I've always been interested in the abnormal, the weird, the paranormal. I would read books and obsess and study as a kid. I would have experiences here and there as a child, up until a point I couldn't ignore. Not until the last few years I realized there was something bigger going on. I always joked I was cursed, until one day I realized I actually was. This is my story. I was born in Hollywood, Florida, and a few months after, my parents had purchased an apartment and moved my sister and I there. Not long into living there, my parents had heard one of my sister's toys going off in the middle of the night, and my mom went to go check. It was one of those toys where it say the alphabet with different words, and it had gone off and said A's for apple, and it continued going through the B and the C and the D, continuing. And my mom checked the toy. Confused, my mom went in the battery port, and there was no batteries inside that toy. It eventually stopped after she checked. A few months after, my parents moved us to Stephen City, Virginia. In the middle of the night, my sister and I were asleep. My parents were watching a movie late one night, and all of a sudden they started to hear children laugh and run up and down the hallway, slamming through the boards of the house. My parents went upstairs to see if my sister was awake in the middle of the night, and I was too young to be running around in the first place, so they were in total confusion, and we were both sound asleep. I'm not sure what my parents' true mindset was back then, but they soon forgot about it and let the memory slip away. September of 2011, at 5 years old, in kindergarten. One night before school, I heard knocking on this side of my closet. Every time I turned on the lights, it would stop. Eventually, I opened the closet and it completely stopped. From this night, I would see him almost every night and feel his presence daily, for years. This entity is a dark entity. A tall, dark figure with red eyes, as many all throughout the world have claimed to see. People might know this as sleep paralysis, but I would see it in the daytime, and I'll get more into it that I wasn't the only one to see, hear, or feel this entity. From September 2011 through March 2016, from that night, I would see a towering, dark figure with glowing red eyes. He would stand at the corner of my bed or at the edge of my room. There was an incident one day where it was seen in the upstairs bathroom window by a friend and I. He always gave off a dark energy, but confusingly, I was never always afraid. There was a day he became violent. March 2016, a morning before school. My father was downstairs, my sister was gone for school already, and my mom was in her room. I was leaving the shower and started to dry off as the lock of the doorknob started to unlock from the outside. Not thinking, I assumed it was my sister messing with me, so I yelled out, then realized where everyone was. Suddenly the door handle started turning and stopped in place. In a sudden moment, the door slammed into my arm and I heard running and giggling, and then I saw the shadow man run into my sister's room and slam the door. I then ran into her room and saw him standing in the corner of the room. The rest of the day was and is a blur. A few days after, I had hangers thrown at me in my room. From these events, I explained to my parents the severity of action we needed to take. My mother and I both put crosses up in every incident location. During we recited prayer over our home and the darkness subsided. I argued with myself if it was temporarily gone or just dormant, or the same entity in itself, which at this point of recording I think it was two separate things. September of 2012. Everyone in the neighborhood knew about a homeless encampment called the Hobo Shack. A big group of us would play in the creek. The creek was located and on the side of this shack deep out in the woods. I would tell my friends throughout elementary school about this shack, and I knew I needed video proof. In September of 2016, a neighbor and I walked down a trail leading to the shack for me to obtain evidence of the encampment. We eventually got about 200 yards from it. I got my evidence and we headed back. Before we got out, I realized I had dropped my phone somewhere on the pebbled path. I told my friend to stay and wait as I went back to search for my phone. As I headed down the path, I got a sense of terror and paranoia. I continued down and eventually found my phone on the path. As I picked it up, I heard movement in the forest. Suddenly 5 people in black cloaks appeared and ran after me. I made it out and we left as we saw one at the entrance as we drove away. June of 2017, a friend and I had camped out in my yard. In the middle of the night, he woke me up to let me know there was a man outside in a cloak. Looking out of the tent window, it was exactly what I'd seen in the woods that fall. From exhaustion, we fell asleep watching hands sway across the tent walls. In November of 2019, 2 friends and I would always sneak out, and one night we went out to the woods with some friends. We got a pretty bad feeling from how far we'd gone in and turned back. In the morning we went to where we didn't the night before, and we found something horrifying. A satanic ritual site marked out by a stick, and the divots were filled with wax. To see if it was used just hours prior, I put my hand over it. And from that point, I think this is where this truly started. In Middletown, Virginia, there's an old way station turned hotel restaurant made in 1740. It served as a neutral hospital for the Union and Confederate sides. It was also used as a speakeasy during Prohibition. They even found and uncovered secret bar rooms. I took a ghost tour in 2022 with my mother. There were 8 others that came along with us. During the tour, we entered the second room when my mom's allergies started flaring up. The tour guide then told us about the legend of this room, the Lavender Lady. This ghost gives off a lavender pheromone, which my mom and others happened to be allergic to, meaning the spirit was there and present. We moved to the next room, which all walls were lined with mirrors. Completely alone in the mirror room, I felt a dark looming presence. Our guide led us to the hotel sector and told us the legend of the ghost boy who roams the halls throwing his ball. We then were warned about room 14 and its most haunting presence out of the hotel rooms. The guests have reported footsteps, cold drops, lights malfunctioning, passing out, and even violence from room 14's entities. We then got led to the basement slave kitchen, and I felt sorrow. This was the first time I'd truly felt intuition throughout my body. After we went through 2 more sections, we ended up at the dining room. In this room, there's an old, original well with a glass cover. This well had a very dark aura, especially while looking down it. This place has stuck with me, and I plan to stay the night soon. I dealt with excessive bullying throughout middle school, and it got to the point where I'd be in public and people would be taking pictures of me and posting me on stories. Late summer 2022, I'd been at the mall with one of my friends, and we'd seen this group of girls looking at us and taking pictures of us, and we'd walked over to a store. They came in there and asked if I was Steven, and asked if they could take a picture of me. And I, for the first time, entertained it instead of actually having a negative reaction back. I posted a caption, just met up with some fans at the mall, and I thought it was hilarious, same with a lot of other people. And from then I started acting like I was famous as a joke, and it came to the point where a lot of people thought I was being dead ass, where they thought that I was seriously so entitled to myself to think I was like that. Probably about half the majority knew I was joking and it was satire. I made something good out of so much bad towards my image and my feelings and my self-esteem, but at the same time it did not fix the true issues inside me. It made me feel seen, but in reality it was just something so stupid. And after dealing with all that bullying throughout that time, the death of my grandfather at 12 and the isolation of COVID, I kept myself in a hollow depressive state. I never fully worked through my issues and I let it all sit. And I started to get myself back at the end of summer. I got true friends, got into my first real relationship, but of course tragedy was not over, because that's not how life works. Things were slowly getting better until a misunderstanding came upon. It got to the point that he had to talk to me, and we talked it out, but for many different reasons, the situation did not go away. It got to the point where I went to a party one night, and he came at me, pressed and threatened me. As I did what he asked, he came behind me with an alcohol bottle, but was about to swing it over my head. Someone had stopped him from swinging the bottle over my head, and after dealing with much more harassment and threats, I'd walked away. And this night tore me up. I did not know people could be that evil. I did not know people could be that bad, be that vile, because I always try to hold people to a standard of the golden rule, treat how you want to be treated, and I treat them as everyone's good. Everyone has good in them, and everyone's going to try to do the right thing. And when people break that bar I have, which is a very not solid bar, it really truly breaks me, because I always want to see people, even if they hate me, doing better and feeling good about themselves, whether or not they like me or not. Soon after, I've been told about a homecoming after party that I was threatened to be drowned in the Shenandoah River if I attended. Ignoring a lot of people's advice, I still went. Throughout that party, things ended okay. I guess it was the intoxication or things alongside of that where I actually got to speak my mind on certain things. I felt seen for the first time, especially with the crowd giving me so much trouble. After this night, the situation died out. But the severity of the violence and the threats truly stamped me, and was just the piece that would soon make me fall and lose myself. And I had a friend from childhood that came back around during this time, and she kept me safe, and she kept a lot of people off of me, and a lot of people from harming me, and I'm forever thankful for her. From that party, I got inspired to make my own. I wanted to host and see people enjoy and have a good time with something I had worked so hard to plan. So I had about 60 people on a list, and 15 people came in the first 5 minutes. I went upstairs to put my costume on. Another 30 came. Soon it got out of hand, and I had smoked for the first time since I had greened out 6 months prior with my first time ever using weed. And I only remember much of it from videos and pictures that I got sent and ones I had taken. There was about 350 people that came through that night, but I'd ended it because I'd seen my address on multiple people's stories. And even worse, eggs out of my fridge have been taken out, and even worse, my parents' vehicles have been egged and parts of our house. Coming outside to see that, I saw my street full of people and trash, and I knew how to end it as soon as possible. Even after I officially ended it, people still stayed around. The damage I'd done to my neighbor's reputation of how they viewed me was not the same for about a year. It was probably my favorite high school experience, but at the same time, I thought that people wanted to be around me for this party and stuff like that. Really, people just wanted a place to drink, and I realized that soon after. And this point on, I was an unadmitted alcoholic for a good amount of time. Wish I took account to how much I was going out and partying, continuing, and even before this, and I wish I'd realized the severity of using intoxications and abusing them, especially with me only being 16 at this time. Like I said, I wish I quit out with the parties, because not even a couple weeks after, there was another one for a friend's double birthday. It was a great time with a big bonfire. Towards the end, when it was about to get shut down, God walked up to me, one of my now good friends, and he told me he moved back to town and was just trying to meet new people, so I got his contact. And this was my last Christmas that actually felt like it was childhood. I enjoyed my Christmas with my now ex and my family. We spent our time cooking, baking, and watching movies together, and we went over to my family friend's house, and we enjoyed time opening gifts and eating and laughing together. From this point, my life was forever changed, and it was on a domino effect, and it turned for the worst. Cursed. To continue this story and tell you what comes ahead, I need to lay some foundation first for some of the events that happened that fueled how bad this haunting truly was. On the bus on my first day of 7th grade, I met a friend that became my best friend for several years. It was nice to have someone that I could do everything with, say everything to, and never get bored with. When 2020 hit, we started a landscaping business to cope with the craziness of the world. We slowly drifted when we went to different high schools. It would be a few years before we spoke again. When I was a kid, I met Troy. He eventually moved when we lost contact. I'll be reporting the story later. Troy had moved back a couple years later, and for the first couple months, we didn't talk much because of how long it had been. But one day he mentioned that he was having a going away party. He was going away for a couple months. Pushed my social anxiety aside and went and instantly hit it off with his friends. As a sophomore, it was cool to be around older people. And we spent a lot of time, even off our phones, just talking and just getting to know each other and running games. I wish that night lasted because it was the first time that I truly felt seen, and I felt a sense of community socially where I never felt that before. Some ties got broken in that group, and some breakups ended up happening. It had too many awkward situations to the point where the group was no longer together anymore. There were a few I stayed in contact with, and a few I'm still friends with to this day. One of my friends from that friend group with the older kids, I ended up introducing some of my friends through my big Halloween party. We all started hanging out as a group, going out to dinner and movies, and it was nice to again have a good friend group and have a sense of community socially again. On New Year's turning into 2023, my ex and I had got picked up from a friend from that older friend group. During it, my ex had overdrank, and I tried to take the bottle several times to no avail. It got to the point where she was almost blacked out. We alerted her mom, and she came to get her. And seeing someone in a state like that for the first time still does some damage to me to this day. That's why I'm weird about alcohol, even though I sometimes fall into it. Through the hours of not knowing if she would be okay was a very damaging thing to me, and was the first staple in our relationship to damage it. And about a week and a half after things cleared up with her, my sister and I had got into an argument which damaged our relationship for several years. Just now we are getting somewhere. It had gotten to the point where we said things we didn't mean to say and did things we didn't mean to do. Completely out of hand at being 16, watching as I had to watch my sister walk away from our own actions, and the fact that I never truly got through my depression and processed anything properly throughout my entire life, and made her the target for a lot of my anger. That day I feel was a domino effect of many that ended up leading on a very bad path, and especially losing my only sibling and the connection I had and the comfort of having that connection being gone did a lot more damage than I knew at that moment and for a while. Soon after that event, I found myself wanting to skip school a lot, and I was going in and out of almost being admitted to the psychiatric hospital. I started having terrible anxiety attacks from harassment from others, and soon was fearing for my life coming home. To make matters worse, the friend that I stayed close with from that older kid friend group, she became like a sister to me. One day she'd picked my ex and I up, and we started driving around. From that, she started driving erratically, and I asked her after about 10 minutes of it to please pull over, and that she should not be driving. And from that, put her hands in the back seat and attempted to put hands on me. My ex put her arms between us for something to not happen. Soon after, I dropped her for it. It hurt a lot since I had just lost a relationship with my sister, and now I lost another sister figure to me, and someone that had meant a lot towards me. My ex had made me drop the friend that had protected me from those guys earlier that fall. Out of respect for my girlfriend, I abided, even though I truly did not want to because of how much she had done for me. From that, harassment continued, and during this time I became very suicidal, missed several days because of anxiety attacks. This continued into my 17th birthday, over a month of harassment. We're coming back home on my birthday, and had seen two of the girls trying to break into my home. One of them tried for the knob, and then when they saw us, they ran into the street and drove off. From this, I got the harassment solved, and I blocked them. During my 17th birthday party, I was egged twice in one night. From all this, I lost 10 to 15 pounds. I was barely sleeping. My grades fell. I was not taking care of myself in each and any way. And after a chain of sorrow from many events, I gradually got PTSD. Then I started having anxiety attacks. Not just every couple days, but every day. During March of 2023, my art class had assigned a paper mache project. I designed it fully black with a nose, no mouth, and no eyes. Only because the first attempt with the mask I had ruined it trying to make eyes. I'd added the Holy Trinity symbol on each cheek. Then I added a Bible verse on the inside, and then wrote in my name. The Bible verse I'd chosen was 1 Corinthians 13:8, which means deeply to me. I created this with attention of the holy object, as if one were to put a cross on the wall, or put a religious object somewhere in their home. I looked at it as a sign of protection and never thought about it again, just as a room decoration. With the mask creation, I set it on my wall with no realization of what I had brought into my home. During this time, my ex had got progressively manipulative. She had started controlling who I talked to, what we did, and soon sex. She started making sex a mandatory thing and would jump around the idea of leaving me for her guy friends if I didn't sleep with her. This continued through April and May of 2023. I then started to notice lightly painful spots on the right side of my ribs and stomach. I headed to the doctors to get checked out, and my longtime doctor told me I had shingles. I was surprised since I was just recently 17, and after looking into shingles, I found that high anxiety can cause it. It only itched a little, but seeing the spots on my body was a constant reminder of the horrors and the trauma done to me. June of 2023, I mentioned celibacy to her, and she threatened cheating, leaving, and eventually ruining my life, stealing property, and defamating my name to the point where I would be hurt or worse, and putting the blame of abuse onto me and made me the sole action in it. To not lose who at the time I thought was the love of my life. I let her continue to abuse me mentally and now sexually. The abuse continued through June, and on one night she hit me for the first time. It was so shocking when it first happened that I froze as she kept hitting and throwing things at me. After it was over, I made her promise to never do it again. For weeks we continued arguing while cheating threats became a normality. She started even mistreating me in front of friends. During an early 4th of July church event, she smacked me several times with none of the crowd noticing. This routine of abuse led me to become a hollow man, dependent on her sick and twisted love. One day in the middle of July, that now ex, and that friend I'd met in middle school that was my best friend, we all had went to my house to hang out. And not long after, my ex had started arguing and eventually hitting me, which made my friend leave the room. She had started to hit me, and we continued arguing as I cheerfully begged her to stop. In the heat of it, across from the family room, something horrifying happened. All of a sudden, there were 3 knocks on the window. In pure fear, I ran to the window and shined my light outside to find no one out there. My friend ran downstairs from the screaming, and after explaining to him what had happened, I sprinted outside with him covering the other side of the yard. While armed, I circled my house searching to find somebody in the darkness just to find nothing. I got back inside, and when my parents arrived home, we checked the cameras, and there was absolutely nothing. I tried to cope with it being a person, but deep down I knew something dark had occurred in my home. And what I also knew and didn't say out loud at the time was that with demons and dark entities, they'll use the 3 knocks to mock the Holy Trinity. Demonic entities do not want to be known and do not want the humans to know that they are there. But they hate the Lord and the Trinity so much that they will mock it by using the 3 knocks to show that they have enough power to do so and interfere in the human realm, but also the fact that they hate the Trinity so much that they would rather mock it by the knocks or the noises of 3. After that event, I made myself forget about it for my sanity. The abuse continued and got worse through the end of summer, which made the event leave a hole of mental carelessness. I was in so much disarray that I had no time to actually stop and think about the true evil that was going on behind the scenes. Summer ended and senior year began. I realized how isolated I truly became. Almost had nobody to talk to except a few people. I ended up hanging out with some guys. After my best friend since middle school became friends with them, we all started hanging out. We all had clicked instantly and hung a few times throughout the summer. When school started, we all started carpooling, going to dinner, and hanging out regularly. They became some of my closest friends. I would speak to them about things that I would not tell others because of how much trust I had gained in such a short time. Things were calm, but outside the cloak of my image, I was in full abuse at home. The first week of my senior year, 2 friends had let me know that my ex was actually cheating on me. They had mentioned to me that she had been walking off with another guy, and I did not listen. I had all the evidence there, and I truly did not want to believe the woman I thought I loved was cheating on me, even pushing aside all the wrong she was doing to me and my body. As school went on, I was in solitary until I would see my friends. I couldn't exactly open up to what was happening to me. I started the family dose again since it was my last year of high school. Doing it again made things a little easier and was something actually fun to ignore what was actually happening to me. A friend had invited me and my ex to a house party. I met another one of my good friends that would shortly become part of my friend group and became like a brother to me. Not long after, a few other guys got added that became like brothers to me. It was nice for the first time to actually see and feel a real connection of mutuality with a lot of our traumatic lives. Not all of us had the best home lives. We were coping by being with each other. Days before my senior year Halloween party, the friend group and I were hanging out at one of the guys' houses. This friend has a fence gate out to the woods, and one of the guys and I ended up wanting to see what was back there. So we opened the fence gate, started walking out. We found a path about 200 feet from that gate, and I started hearing leaves crunching. And my friend said he saw a pair of legs walking across that path into a pile of branches. His claim was that there was just legs and boots, no torso, and nothing else, as if the guy was in half. Instead of running back, I tried to find it. We started walking and walking and walking. We walked for about 15 minutes in one direction, and it was just endless forest. We turned back, found our friends waiting by the gate. They asked where we had gone, and I told them what had just happened, and then laid the foundation of everything else that happened inside those woods, and what the little I knew of the town history at that time. I'll get more into that later in this story. If you live in this town, you do not know the history. It has been very buried. From our adventure out there, I had the idea of a camping trip, and they all agreed. A couple of the guys and I, we went out there, started our venture out there, and night fell before we knew it. The guys had overpacked, so it took longer than expected to get out onto the section of paths. It took us 20 minutes in the darkness to find the correct path. A feeling of dread but excitement grew as we went deeper. One of the guys and I cleared grass and a way for our camp and started the fire, while also organizing bags. 2 of the other guys went to retrieve more luggage. When they came back, we realized that the tent poles were missing and some were actually broken, so we had to use the tent cover as a makeshift roof tied to branches. After about 8 fire starters, we finally got that fire started. We finally got to start making our food, and we started taking turns using dead brush for firewood. We sat around because it had got extra cold that night, more than it should have for a late fall night. One of the guys had ended up going to the edge of the lake to grab more dead brush, and he'd come back looking hollow. We didn't say much, he just kept talking around the fire. All of a sudden, we heard a howl from one direction, and then another, and then another, and then another. There were about 7 to 8 howls coming from all directions. And if you know anything about hunting or animal patterns, especially for the time it was with late November, you know that packs don't work like that. How loud we were being, our fire, and the cold, it would not be in a natural sense for an animal or a pack of those animals to do that. Simultaneously, for the friend that went to go grab that firewood, I had mentioned what he did not tell us. He told us that when he grabbed firewood for about 5 minutes prior, he heard a little girl and several other voices whispering that they need help. And he heard laughing, but it almost sounded like crying, and they were very adamant on having him come into the dark. From this, they looked at me for what to do. They asked me and said, "It's your camping trip." I told them we need to go because this is not safe and we don't know what we're actually dealing with here. I made the decision to leave, and we started getting what we could. We ran into the uncertainty, not knowing if we'd ever make it back. We pushed through the dense trees as one guy navigated, another carried most of the luggage. One was on lookout in front, and I was on lookout in the back. As we sprinted out, the forest erupted in howls. After 8 minutes, we found a hall to pass. Suddenly, we felt that something was with us. Through the darkness, we ran out and eventually found the pebble path that stretches through the entire forest. Our luggage was so heavy that we had to take breaks every 30 seconds. We started hearing loud, two-footed footsteps through the leaves in the forest, just off the path. Every time we'd stop and rest, it would stop too. It did this back and forth until we reached our exit. On our way out, my friend started recording again. I started telling the camera how it sucks we couldn't stay the night. He and I expressed how glad we were to have made it out. We were still laughing, not knowing the severity of what just happened. Another friend said bye to the entity and or the forest as a joke, and you can hear someone in the background saying bye. My friend's uncle picked us up, even though we had parked not that far down. But from how terrified we were of what we just encountered, we wanted to get out of there as fast as possible, making sure nothing caught us. After we told him what happened, he told us that Stephen City used to have a KKK group. He went further and mentioned meetings took place in those woods back in the 80s and around it, and it had been a town rumor for decades. We knew we had to get our stuff back. It was just a matter of how. After that night, we didn't know how to explain what we went through. The chasing, the spaced out footsteps, how long and far those howls sounded, even though we could tell it was just right behind us. When it trampled through those leaves right by us and we saw absolutely nothing. How our flashlights died when it came close, and how what kind of normal predator follows a group of humans and stops exactly when we do. That night we were prey, and that predator was not natural. 2 days passed and we didn't know what the hell to do. We didn't know how we were going to go back out there and face what we did that night. We argued if it was even worth going back, or even safe. I knew I had to get certain items back that we used for the camping trip. Late November we headed out there, and we set out on a gray skied evening. We attempted to make it out before dark, and just like the time before, it did not go as planned. We walked down the long path in silence, worried it was following us and watching us. We found the path to the camping spot and saw our stuff. The fall air was abnormally cold and empty. It felt like nothing existed outside the forest. We picked up our stuff within 2 minutes and marched out as darkness fell. Eventually we got back onto the pebble path and booked it. We started hearing crunching and long, hard footsteps around us and along the side of us. We had no idea what we had just awoken. After that night, I spread the story of what happened to us in those woods. My English teacher assigned an essay assignment on the story of any event in our lives that changed us or was interesting. I wrote in some of the details of early history of the forest and told the horrifying camping trip. My teacher loved the essay and she told me to update her on further investigations. Favorite class in high school, by the way. Every time we passed or went near the woods, anytime throughout November and December, we'd hear strange noises, whistling, howling that came from absolutely nowhere. Our mental health's all tanked, and my ex's abuse got to me extremely violent. She would beat me, rip my clothes, scratch my face, force sex on me, even more than before, hit me in front of those friends, and even call the guys to pick her up, until I begged her to stay. This continued to the end of our relationship. Alongside all of this, one night the guys and I stood in one of our cul-de-sacs, and the camping trip got brought up. In a quiet, calm manner, I asked the others if they noticed the change too. Simultaneously, even though we had different beliefs, we all agreed that the air and the feeling of our lives and the events in our lives had got progressively worse. With complete darkness and the woods in sight, I felt something watching us as we fearfully questioned what came after us truly that night. All of a sudden, a giant tree branch crashed down deep in the woods, then the howling began. It came from all directions for beyond of my friend's backyard. Connected or not, there was a divide in the group. Some of the guys, I think more fearful of the situation, started to defect, and things got isolated. I'd see some of the group, but I was mostly stuck with my ex. Since she was around most of the time, I'd go to school depressed, drained, and then come home to full abuse. One night in mid-December, some of the friends and I went to a pond at night, and they had an intervention with me about how she wasn't treating me right, and they knew it was progressively going to get worse. They knew that I was happier and obviously crying a lot less when she was not around. I got very upset and put my anger in the wrong places, and I said she would eventually stop, knowing deep down it would get far worse. I started letting her do with me as she pleased, just as if I'd have someone who would love me. I hung out with two of my friends without my ex for one night, and it was probably the best I had in that time I was friends with all of them. Realized I could have fun and be away from her and not during violence. It was a big relief after so long of it. It was going on for around 7 months. Even though that night was a staple and a core memory of those friends in that group, the events after changed the trajectory of my life for whatever I thought it was going to be or who I was going to be. On December 30th, 2023, my ex's friend hosted a party, as my friends and I had already gone to a few of them. So one friend and I and my ex attended, and we continued to play pool and take drinks with others, just as we had done multiple times prior. I'd been comfortable enough to not worry about anything truly happening, and it had been a while since a natural situation with a person. So I was getting calm and enjoying myself for once in my life, even with all the violence around me. My friend and I continued our pool game, and then we got noticed that one of my ex's friends had got super intoxicated and she needed to be walked home. On the way out, a large group of guys ended up giving me a bad look, and my friend tried to give me the notice that he thought something was up. And I brushed it off as them just trying to say what's up. Stupidly, we walked out, walked this girl home, and walked right back in the party. As we walked in, we continued our game, and an old friend walked up after 4 years. This friend that walked in, why I did not mention why I originally stopped being friends with this guy. When I had found that ritual site when I was a kid, he was one of my best friends. A few months into being friends, I joined the school wrestling team, though I'd got so much hate for how skinny I was and the bullying I endured. This continued for over a month until a match day. Right before an away match, I got changed into uniform, and as I tried to walk out, my team surrounded me. 4 kids out of the whole team watched as the rest of the team forced and cornered me into the middle section of the locker room. One guy held me against the lockers as the rest helped corner and keep me suspended up as my own supposed to be friend fingered me through my shorts for over a minute. I started punching everyone surrounding me in the face. After almost breaking a guy's glasses, they let me go. I got up and angrily called them terms, referring to them for what they did to me. While they laughed and walked away, I quit that day. I left my gear in the gym the next day during gym class, and I didn't say or give a reason to my coaches. During the week I'd quit, multiple of my now old teammates slandered and slurred me for disrespecting the team in their own words. One guy that helped them that day and helped corner me had the audacity to call me a pussy, and he said in his own words, it happens to everyone. Him and a couple others eventually said the same thing, and eventually the situation died out, and I buried how damaging it was until the one chaotic day. I'd found out that the same week, 2 guys who helped and made fun of me for it had it happen to them. In no way, shape, or form I wish it happened to them at all. I don't think any of it was right. It shouldn't have happened to them either. It was wrong. None of it should have been happening to anyone. About a month before COVID hit, February 2020, a few months after that incident, I was in a lunch period where this lunch had all of 8th grade in one period. Someone at my table had mentioned what that guy had done and got the team to do, and instigated. I took out years of built-up rage in front of my entire grade and the whole administration. In front of everyone, I screamed his and every other involved names and bashed them in terms for what they did to me. And administration ran to me as fast as they could before I got out of hand and got physical. I got pulled into the office that day and told my story. After full school investigation, everyone on the team except one guy who was a friend, except that one guy, the rest of the team lied and claimed nothing happened. Soon after the situation, it grew silent, COVID hit, and I never saw justice. Back at that party on December 30th, 2023, I'd said hi to him with the mindset of catching up and telling him how much the locker room incident messed me up. He then smiled and said we're not good. When he said this, I looked at my ex and my friend, thinking he was joking like he always used to do when we were friends years ago. He then smirked at me, nodding his head no. He signaled one of his guys who he was with and said something in Spanish. His whole group rushed to me, and all people surrounded the conflict. One guy in the group was extremely tall and had about 80 more pounds on me and looked to be intoxicated, where I was worried for my life. He pushed through the crowd and started aggressively breathing. The co-host that got into the middle to separate them from me. I yelled repeatedly that we were leaving and didn't need to be an issue, as we were shoved multiple times. The co-host told them to stop and we started to walk out, but I had a deep gut feeling that they were not going to let it go, so I told my friend next to run. As we reached the car, we heard and saw multiple men breach out the front and back door with masks on, and they came to the doors. 2 guys went to my friend's driver's side and strangled him behind the driver's side headrest. I was sat in the passenger seat while my ex tried to get in the back seat, but I needed to manually unlock the door from the inside. Before I could, the tall guy and 3 others started shoving me as I begged them to let us go. My ex screamed for them to stop, to no avail. My friend got out of the chokehold and put his fist out, threatening them while explaining he was not involved in any way. Somehow that convinced them and they came around to me to continue. That old friend stood behind laughing with his arms crossed as I was repeatedly punched, and I tried to calm down the tall guy because again I was worried for my life. I felt that in that moment, if I said or did the wrong thing, he would have killed me with his bare hands. For me getting punched, my ex jumped in front of me, making them command her to move. They went ahead a girl, right? They threw her down. She got back up. They threw her down again, punched her in the head to make her stay down, with her almost hitting her head, one of those giant residential rocks that they put in areas so people do not park in the grass. I kept getting punched as the party watched, with a few screaming for them to stop, as most cheered and laughed. The same people who I drank with, had conversations with, cheered on mine, my ex's, and my friend's attempted murder. I pulled my ex on top of my lap and shut the door, my friend locking the doors. The tall guy slammed the door and window, and they started to shake and kick the car. The guy slammed the window, slurred in Spanish to me, pulled out a glass breaker. Ears ringing, he shattered my friend's passenger side window, blocking the glass. My friend froze and could not move as he held the wheel. We screamed for him to drive, as he repeatedly said he didn't know what to do, and he hit the gas as they chased on foot. Two friends that got out of the party a little bit too late rushed and started pressing them for what they had just done. On the way to the hospital, I had to kick the rest of the glass out as it was coming at us with us speeding down the highway. I walked in with blood and glass all over me, full of rage. My two friends called me thinking when the glass broke, it had been a gunshot and I was not here anymore. Over the phone, those two friends, which I appreciate to this day, they offered to even pay for the window, with my friend who owned the car politely declining. I got checked in as the lobby grew silent and then turned to silent whispers. I was hoping to not see anyone I knew, but I knew one girl from school who was a nice person and I didn't have much to worry about. I got checked in and went to wash off. Looking at my reflection with bruises, microglass, and blood on me with a blank face did something to my soul. After I saved a video of myself in the mirror, that video is now burned into my mind. I got to the room and got checked out with just some small cuts and bruises. I was blessed to not have been taken that night. The doctor, nurse, and officer were present, and they asked if I wanted to make a report, and I responded, "Do you want to see me in a morgue?" I apologized right after for the attitude, and I explained how severe the situation was, and I just wanted to move on. I went home that night and was comforted by my ex. The one was so abusive, so hurtful, so smothering with violence, was now comforting me and holding me as I slept in tears. In the morning, I wanted to find out exactly the motive. I didn't exactly care about getting revenge. I know it just leads on a loop of endless violence that gets more and more people hurt and can get drastically worse over time, and that there's no real solution to it. Through trying to find out the motive, my ex got super angry and thought it could bring more danger to us, and I felt that as if she was trying to take away my ability to stand up for myself and find out the truth. This was the first true broken veil that of realizing that I was being held down and I was being held from keeping my own and protecting myself and doing what I wanted. Living in the aftermath of it, I wanted to see justice and a motive for what was done. After talking to some people, I'd found out the true motive was I just wanted to see what would happen. I didn't think it would go that far. So that night was just for amusement. It was not for a targeting vendetta. It was for fun. After getting the answers I wanted and was not satisfied with, I chose to move on. I stayed in fear of being out in that other town, a lot of times out in public. Through that, I put my anger out on a lot of other people. Started going on my family, started going out on friends. There was a group of girls being pretty ableist to a good friend of mine at a basketball rec game, and I went off on them for it. I went 20 times what I should have said, but it wasn't who I am. I don't like being an angry person. I don't like lashing out, and I don't like fighting. I don't like it getting to more than just a conversation. If things were perfect in this world, you could sit down in a room with a person and talk on every single thing you want to say to each other and come out of that room either friends again, cool again, or acting like you never met. That's how I wish the world worked, where it didn't have to result to violence, where it didn't have to result to guns and fights and people shooting up each other's houses and hurting people's family. It leads to nothing. That leads to more violence, and it leads to a cycle of violence that is never ending, to a point where it can go on decades or years, and the original root of that fight will be forgotten eventually, and they'll be wondering why they're actually fighting. It just involves more and more people, and more people get hurt physically and emotionally and soulfully, and you lose sight of faithfulness and you lose sight of yourself in the wrath of that anger. From that event, and the pressure I felt from my ex to not continue to stand up for myself, I'd realized that may have been a better idea not being with her. I should have broken up with her long before that. The more time I spent away from her while she was hanging with her friends, I spent more time with my guy friends, realizing that I was able to actually enjoy myself. And they brought up multiple times that I would cry a lot less because I was crying every single day from what she was doing. Practically see her every day. So having those times with my guys and not having to worry about appeasing someone who was doing so much evil to me was a reliever. I think this is probably the most evil thing that's ever been done to me by a person. My father's friend, his family is like another family to mine. One of their family members, at only a couple months old, he was born with many health issues. He was born with organs in the wrong place, some parts missing, some organs not even there. He didn't survive that long, God rest his soul. And there was a funeral for that child. He didn't even get the chance to be a toddler, or make friends, or play with toys, or color, or sing songs with his mother, go trick-or-treating, go to church, go to school, and there was a funeral planned for him. Told my parents I'd go, of course. My ex had other ideas. She said, there will be other girls there. I don't want you going to that. or else I have to go. In the grand scheme of things, she was a short-term girlfriend. She wasn't welcome to be there because she wasn't family. I told her and begged her that I needed to go for my family. To no avail, she told me either I'm gonna have sex with this other guy if you go, or you're not going. She had pressured at that point to ruin my life, tell others I was the one abusing her, steal a bunch of my shit, and get guys to either try to kill me, jump me. Fearing for my life, fearing that I would be hurt, or my family, my friends, or my property would be hurt. About a week or so after, my ex had stayed the night, and in the morning, she ended up telling me that she wanted to have sex with another guy. I begged her to stay, and eventually she ended up smacking me in the nose and then punching me. I ended up bleeding from my nose, and unintentionally, to her part, she ended up calling emergency services while pressing her power button. A 911 operator ended up hearing me yell and scream, and I said her name and said, "My nose, I'm fucking bleeding." It had been this violent prior when she had beat me over the head and the face with her purse when it had vapes, chargers, and her phone inside. Again, I was blind and I wanted to see a person change. I was raised on a golden rule that everyone is good and that you treat others how you want to be treated, and whenever that bar is broken or not met, it truly destroys me, and I don't want to accept it. That not everyone is a good person in this world. I want to see the best in people, even if they hate me. Once emergency services heard that, they ended up sending 2 officers, and we had gone outside. The officers on the scene, rightfully so to them, in most statistical cases, it's the man who's doing the wrong in the situation. When they walked up, I pulled my sleeves up from the cuts on my wrists, questioned me, assuming, again, rightfully so from statistics, that I was the abuser. I told them I had done nothing, and she had done nothing, and she said the same. They kept asking me to pull up my sleeves. I told them I could not do that. They told us that if they get another call, we're both going to jail. And that day, we temporarily broke up. I stupidly knew how I wanted this to be the rest of my life, yet I knew it couldn't change deep down. My parents no longer accepted her, but for my happiness, my never-ending begging to have her back, she was allowed to come over. But my parents never looked at her the same, also with knowing about the true reason I didn't go to that child's funeral. This kind of behavior continued up until my mom's birthday. That day, she had a little birthday lunch with some friends. One of my ex's friends, who I'd got them to be friends. My ex's friend's sister was at that lunch, and I told my ex all the girls that were at this lunch. She's like, "Oh, who's that? No, I know you're flirting with her. I know you're talking to her. This is where I had my last straw, because you're ruining my mom's birthday, and I'm over here trying to fight for my relationship when I'm trying to spend time with my mom and her friends." I told her we need to have a talk, and eventually got to the point where she was begging me to stay, which I had been doing every single day throughout that abuse. She would beat me, make me apologize, and beg as she threatened to go fuck someone else, and as she'd be on the phone with someone else. And then she'd make me have sex with her, pamper me, order me food, and it would continue the very next day. That's how I lived for 8 months. All of my senior year, up until this point of March, in the summer before senior year, I was under this treatment. And anyone watching that knows me, or just heard about me, or saw me through school, you knew me as very quiet my senior year, up until the last couple months. You knew me as someone that was sleeping in class all the time. I had ISA all the time for being late to school, eye bags. I was not myself because I was living in hell. My only friends could only do so much because I was aggressive towards them whenever they wanted to help. I truly, truly regret that. I thank them for being friends for the time we did afterwards, even though it's sadly they are no longer in my life anymore for very different reasons. I will always appreciate how they tried to pull me out of abuse several times very early on. I had asked her to come meet with me at my house, and I told her the breakdown that we're in 2 different paths in life, and I told her I don't like how you're doing this to me. She then was the one to be on her knees begging. I knew I was a shell of a man, but I knew I needed to get myself back. And seeing her try to beg and beg to no avail, she eventually realized and said, all right. She went around my room, picking all the different items out of my room that I really loved, and things that she got me for Christmas, birthdays, etc. She eventually picked up my hamster she had stolen from a pet store about a year prior. Stevie Jr. Put a picture of him on screen. Love that guy. That was dead ass my son. She picked him up and told me I needed to carry the cage, which this is a giant snake cage I have this hamster in. No snakes in there. I told her fuck no. And she carried the hamster out, pushed me, and flipped my mom off in front of her face. Last second she says, you know what, you have him. She throws my hamster at my chest. Catch him, thank God. And how we didn't die from shock in that moment? Little creatures can only handle so much. Ended up catching him, and I watched her walk away. The rest of that week, I went back and forth deciding, do I want to be with her? And again, how stupid do I sound? I went back and forth, blocking her, texting her, and then she was like, oh, you need to apologize. You need to come to my family and get down on your, she told me this word for word, you need to get down on your knees and bring me flowers and presents and apologize to me and my family if you want to get back together. Kept blowing up my phone. She wanted the control back. She didn't like not being in the power like she had been for over almost all the relationship. A week later, I ended up letting it go. I told her we're done. When she brought it up, said okay. I don't think she expected that. And she said, okay, cool. She messaged me on a private account and told me, you say anything, you open your mouth, you're fucked. And I told her, cool. Yeah, I won't say anything. And I was gonna keep shut. But she had looked at all of her friends and people in her life as assets. What I did from this point on was try to fix my sleeping, my eating, and my motivation. I let people around me, friends, mutuals, people I didn't talk to in a very long time because they had no idea why I wasn't able to talk to them. But now being single and out of that abuse, I was now able to speak my truth. I told them exactly how they were felt about what had been done to me, what had happened to me for almost that entire school year. I took this time to rebuild bridges with people I had not spoken to in years and months, people that stuff I had started with, people with situations that had been started by other people. I wanted to find compromise in every single person that I had ever met because I always think there's some good in others, even if they weren't at one point. We're all worthy of saving. We are all worthy of the mercy of Christ. I started to get way more on being religious and finding God again because that felt like the only escape. When my friends were out of the room, it was hollow and it was an echo of loneliness. I didn't exactly understand the deepness of how much I was sexually assaulted during that relationship, how much my body had become a toy. The flinching stopped about after 8 months. Through this time, I had fun. I lived. I laughed. I hiked for therapy. I got closer with that best friend when I was younger, and he hiked out with me almost every day, spending time watching YouTube videos, taking walks, driving around in cars with friends. Anything to keep my mind off of it. They were my anchor. Through that time, my best friend and I would go out into the woods more often. It was therapeutic to me. We also had a spiked interest because it had gotten warmer. During the winter of that year, we only went out twice from how cold it was, and nothing happened those times we were out there. Him and I went out there in early April and had the idea to do another camp out, a reattempt for what we tried in the fall. He found a little spot, tried to convince the other guys to come out. They didn't give much reason to, either out of fear or just disinterest. Started our fire, talked most of the time trying to get the fire to stay going, as we both mutually felt watched, but didn't say anything to each other. During that time, I had him take some pictures of me off a camera. After those photos, I heard some rustling behind me, as if someone was stepping or moving. I didn't say anything to him when I didn't see anything, because I didn't want him to worry. After the photos, we continued the fire, and he set his camera up to record. During that time, we kept it going, and the rustling I heard before came from the other side. When he shined his light, this happened.
What out? Take the fire out now. I can't. What the fuck is that? Dude. Dude. I'm fucking terrified. I can't. I can't grab everything up. What the fuck was that? Steven, I'm freaking the fuck out, dude. Dude. What do we do? Where do we go?
Our Father, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive those who trespass us, as we forgive those who trespass against us. But lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
We ran off into the darkness, not knowing what we had just ran into. It sounded much different to the creature or creatures we had ran into that fall. We sprinted out as we heard it following. In the background, you can even hear it howling, or something like that. At the edge of the tree line, when we were on the phone with a friend telling him what had happened, yet another EVP happened. We were not able to hear this with our ears, and I would not notice this for over a year.
There wasn't no dog or anything.
Probably a fucking fox.
We got the footage, looked through the photos, saw the evidence. The next day he came over and we decided to start watching paranormal videos, as we usually did. During that time, we paused the video a few times thinking someone was moving around the house. I had to question it a few times if anyone was home other than us, knowing there was no one here. I heard footsteps all through the upstairs hallway, just as my parents had described when we first moved in. It got so heavy, it went on for about 45 minutes, and we went upstairs to check. I was so convinced someone had broken into my home. We checked under beds, checked in closets, checked in every single space someone could hide, and there was no one in my home. During the rest of April of 2024, there was a few events in my home with doors closing and footsteps, and it eventually stopped. I kept having fun with friends, eventually made this YouTube channel, and finally posted the video with all the evidence. A week before prom, I got in a call from a random number. Instantly I remembered who the voice was from. It was from that old friend who tried to assault me in her car, from that older kid friend group, the one who used to be like a sister to me. I wanted nothing to see how she was, even after all that had been done. Yes, some time had passed, but I also wanted an apology, but I also wanted my sister back. I ended up meeting with her, and I told her how I'd been. And we talked, and we laughed, and we reminisced about how things used to be, and things seemed to be better. My best friend, on the other hand, he knew better for me not to trust her, and he pressed me about it, rightfully so. I convinced him that she was of no harm, and she had changed, and eventually she started hanging out with us. We had another addition to the group, and she was cool, she was older. It's always cool having older people, especially when you're still in high school. But you get out of it, and you view it a lot different. Throughout some time, things started to be a little weird with my best friend. His behavior started to change. We started to notice different things with him. It started to be erratic, and I noticed that it was not the guy that I trusted with my life. He'd started dating this new girl, and he had me hang out with some of her friends a week before prom in April. They seemed to be really nice, and shortly, my best friend and one of the girls had started dating. Through that month of messing around, going to a prom party after party senior year, and leaving within 15 minutes because of the PTSD, I started to just be more around home and at friends' houses, and not wanting to be out much. Suddenly one day, my best friend and his girlfriend had broken up, and he had told me that she was just not ready for a relationship. I brushed it off and continued living. Shortly after, the older girl that was like a sister to me, that I'd recently taken back, she started playing with his feelings. Worse so, she was 20, he was 16. I instantly knew something was up and could see it, and I didn't like how she was pulling with his feelings, and obviously, that's grooming and not okay. At this point, it seemed more like teasing than anything, but I knew what it could have turned into, so I told her, and she told me she was uncomfortable, but every time it was going on, she seemed to be laughing and enjoying it, and even starting it. This kind of thing continued all of May, and throughout that time, we tried to ignore it, because there were some days it would stop, maybe for a week. It would just continue right back how it was. Close to graduation, we did what we could and had all the fun we had, and we had the idea. We decided to drink with the guys every single day just to celebrate graduating. We wanted to go out with a bang because we didn't know where we were going to be. On the binge drink week, our behaviors suddenly got worse. It got more sentimental, and my best friend, he had mentioned he'd been very upset about the girlfriend he'd recently lost, and had mentioned that she had left him because the parents did not like him. And I instantly knew something was wrong, and I said out loud, "Didn't you tell me the reason you guys broke up is because she wasn't ready for a relationship?" And he said, no, and he was dead on trying to convince me that that was the true reason, that the parents just didn't like him. And in my drunken state, I accepted it. But I guess deep down in my brain, and the morning after I turned sober, I knew I'd been lied to. Graduation day came, and it was good as it ever could be. I talked to a lot of people I'd not spoken to in a very long time. I thought I would never see them again, and I enjoyed the time with the group. And in that moment, I didn't feel right. It felt hollow, it felt fake. Leaving graduation, it felt like something was wrong, like it shouldn't have been this way. Or maybe it was my soul telling me that something else was coming and I needed to be ready. I could feel it through my bones, I could feel it through my skin, through my head. Something was coming that was very hurtful, and I could not get it out of my system. A day later, my grad party happened. The older girl had been very aggressive as she had been when I was 16, and throughout that party, there were multiple shots taken at me personally. I could tell it was heading for a down spiral. Trying to end my grad party to go to my other friends and bring a lot of my other friends to his, I was counting my grad money, and she reached in the pile. The friend who had been recently changing so much, who was still my best friend at this time, he defended me and told her that she needed to bring the money back to me. She complained that I owed her for money for driving around, when all I did was complain about how I didn't want to go out because I was so terrified of something happening to me again. I told her that's not fair at all for you to take my money. My friends looked in shock. The friend who had been changing recently had stepped up, surprisingly, and he defended me. He said, "You need to give him his money back. That is not yours." She gave it back, and things were pretty hot between us. We got to my friend's grad party, and I left a little bit after, having a lot of anxiety from what had just happened and being so overstimulated and intoxicated through that week. That night, we ended up hanging out one more time. After this night, I noticed a giant change in my best friend. It seemed as if he was almost another person. The next day, my phone was blown up for plans, and we all ended up hanging. During it, there had been an argument with me, and the older girl I took back was not forgiven by my father, rightfully so. Even in that moment, with my forgiveness towards her, I agreed with my father and did not sway his opinion. It had gotten to the point where we got pretty heated and we were cussing each other out. Eventually, I ended up going away and hanging out with some of the guys I'd been just now cool with as of the last couple days that my friend group had introduced me into. These guys that I just became cool with, they were the ones to let me know that when my money was taken in her hands, some of it was still taken, and she had bragged about it, and how stupid I was for not realizing. From this, I ended up wanting my money. At perfect time, they had been calling me, and I walked over to them, confronted about the money, and asked genuinely if I could have it back and if she seriously stole any, and how hurtful it was that I had taken her back and she would break my trust again. From this, she came at me and told me I owed her the money and claimed I was the one that ruined things. I was the one who did her wrong and tried to assault her that day in the car. I told her I forgave her and she stole my money as a treatment, and how wrong of it for her it was. Then she started to walk out of the area towards my house. I didn't want it becoming a bigger issue, knowing my parents were home, and I told her it wasn't a good idea to do so. Eventually I cussed her out one last time, and I watched as my best friend since 7th grade had walked back in his house and allowed her to walk in. He had chosen a woman who he knew for a few months that in the past had done so much damage to me that he had pressed me for taking back in the first place. He had chosen her after 6 years of friendship. I told her to tell him to never talk to me again and that he's dead to me. That next morning, I thought that things were going to be okay and that he would come and apologize to me. The night prior, after walking away, I had mentioned in my group chat with all the guys in there what had just happened, and chose her even after all I did. No one came, but what did come was the fulfilled promise from that older girl of a restraining order. 2 officers came to my door that afternoon, and I got a magistrate restraining order for 3 days. It was claimed that I had threatened her, and alleged strings had been pulled. When I tried to go get one for myself because I was still getting blown up by her, I was denied. All alleged. Dealing with that and the loss of my best friend, was getting litter in my yard every single day. They would scream at my house, drive by screaming, texts and calls constantly. A girl that I only fairly knew had went to his house and she claimed sexual assault. From this, I didn't know what to believe, but filled with the rage of what he had done to me, I wanted answers. With the continuous harassment, littering, and the new allegation, I ended up posting something on them on social media. From this, I'd been contacted from his ex-girlfriend's friends, and they had told me why they truly broken up, and I'd been telling him about the allegation. As I was telling the allegation story, my words had been finished for me. It had been a repeated action with different details, and this heartbroke me, knowing that someone I basically grew up with was possibly capable of doing something like that. And then I found out another. I spent that summer isolated, alone, a full alcoholic, taking 6 to 8 shots a day, getting 2 to 3 hours of sleep a night, and I dropped about 20 pounds in a week. During that time, hiking was my therapy. I would go out at night, which is some previous videos on this channel. No one knew the true story of why I was posting these. At that time, it wasn't to catch evidence. It was to keep myself alive and keep a focus on something else when my entire world fell apart, because I could not imagine living in a world where so much hurt had been done.
During the summer after graduation, 2 friends and I ended up going out in a part of the woods that we had never gone to before. As we went out, I had a few pictures and mapped out where it was. During it, when I handed my phone to a friend to get a picture of me, the photos were taken, we continued walking. About 10 minutes later, I noticed my phone was not on me since I was more focused on navigating. I asked my friend who had taken the picture if he handed my phone back, and he told me yes. I told him I never got my phone back, and I know I didn't drop it. He told me he had felt a hand grab it when he was meaning to hand it to me. He wasn't looking at me as he handed it away. Thinking he might have just dropped it, or I did, we looked at the Life 360 as my phone was moving in circles throughout the forest, even in some areas we had never gone in. As I said, this was our first time in this part. After chasing it around, we found it under a pile of leaves in a space we had never walked to. We didn't speak much about that night. It was more unsettling of the kind of experiences, because the amount of energy and power an entity or whatever it was would have to pull that off. A good friend of mine in my group had let us know about a Halloween party that was being hosted. We all went that night. We got there early, helped set up, and got friendly with the host. During it, we talked to several people, did our own thing for the beginning of it. Not long into it, I saw my abusive ex. This was the first time I'd seen her since breaking up with her. I was a little worried, but still trying to keep my mind, and being around so many people, I felt I was fine. I've always been observant, especially from the events I've gone through, and I'd seen her whispering in the ears of the guests. I assumed the worst. I got noticed that allegedly someone was going to come with a gun and take me out or hurt me. From this, I didn't have a ride to get back since we were drinking, and the party had just started. So I had some friends up and got more people with me. With a group of about 15 people, I felt a lot more safe, but not knowing who could possibly walk in was bothering me the whole time. Halfway through the party, I realized the guy wasn't there and he was not coming. I relaxed, enjoyed the rest of my time, and we had a great night.
Months passed, and I would hike time to time, still trying to cope, and still very interested in keeping myself active as much as I could, with having no motivation left in me. What I had not noticed until October of 2025 through a memory on Snapchat was that in October of 2024, one night after walking on a path, what I had not noticed was in the background, after giving basically a post-interview of that hike and how I felt very on edge after that hike and how nothing had happened, but I felt very paranoid. Again, I did not notice this for a year after this. Going in at night is going to be very scary, even if I'm with like 6 people. In the background, you could see a figure. You wonder where I am in this video. I'm sitting on a bar stool in my dad's man cave in my garage, meaning this thing was standing tall, looking directly in my camera, and at this moment I did feel there was something in there with me, but I thought I was just tired, drunk, and out of it. I went to bed like nothing happened, because I knew nothing happened in that moment, not knowing that something was with me, attached to me, and it did not matter if I was home or not, it was with me, and staying for the time, until I realized. I continued living like this, and cleaning up my act a tiny bit, getting a new job, getting my stuff together, and cutting down on the alcohol. I had not smoked in 2.5 years, and I had not done it primarily because of the abusive relationship before it was abusive. I looked at it as a bad thing, and I had been told from her, it just wasn't good for me. I looked, why am I keeping the streak if I'm not with her anymore? So I did it, and it was euphoric. I didn't think about my problems, but I did green out the same night. I would smoke occasionally, and it became multiple times a week, and then it became every day. This continued through the rest of November of 2024 and December. I spent that December working and using all the money I had for weed. Anything to cope with ignoring what I was actually feeling and had gone through, and because I did not want to process what had happened to me, and how disappointed I was in people. I spent most of my days smoking, and whenever I was at work, looking forward to smoking after. It became more than just something on occasion. It became an overpower of my medicine. And slowly but surely, I started to cut out my prescription medicine, not even on purpose, but because the weed felt so much better, knowing it actually was not. I'd continue losing myself and forgetting the days and forgetting memories, all while enjoying the euphoria that was damaging my brain and my cognitive thoughts so dearly. That continued through the rest of December, up until December 30th of 2024, exactly 1 year after the jumping. I didn't exactly forget, but it didn't weigh on me as hot because I was already high. When the high had wore off, I'd been early up in the morning, and I'd been on my couch watching a paranormal video. And on that video, it was one of those where it has a compilation with 6 different clips. On the 6th clip was a guy walking into a abandoned house in the middle of the woods. He goes through the front door and finds a hole in the main level. He jumps through that hole, looks up, and points his camera up in that basement and sees 7 shadow figures with white eyes, some ducking behind corners, some crouching, some laying fully on the ground, and some standing. I still don't know how to explain this event. After seeing that video, I paused my TV and saved it to watch later, and pressed continue. As I put the remote down, I was not able to move, speak, or move my eyes for 45 seconds to a minute. I felt pressure on my chest and an alarming feeling of fight or flight. Praying in my own head, praying to God, who I had not talked to in several months and was losing complete faith in. Eventually got control of my body, and as soon as I got up, felt like I just got off a roller coaster and it got shaken, like I was gonna die. I felt that there were things, and I was hearing things all over my house. I'd heard footsteps, I knew that something was there with me. I instantly thought to talk to my friend. His mother practices Reiki, and I'd known that, but I'd not taken it seriously. She practices an art of light energy reading, and instantly, for some reason in my body, I knew I had to talk to her, even disbelieving her practice. I rushed over to hers, not even worrying about a ride over there. I rushed through the forest to the house and had her start with me. It was a strange experience, but I wanted help. Before I had walked there, I recorded a video of my window because I noticed on my mother's bedroom window a blind opening as if someone was inside the house, knowing no one was home. And if you remember from the original haunting, her blinds would do that a lot. Back to the Reiki, as she was doing it, it was a long, strange experience, and she felt sick to her stomach. She felt hollow and cold and like something was terribly wrong. Unlike all the other people she had given Reiki to, she'd felt a little bit of sadness, joy, anger, any other mutual or normal kind of feeling. For me, she had felt a rotten disgust, a rotten pain and weight. She had knew there was something attached to me. She had told me that there was actually a ghost in my house alongside, but there was something hiding behind it that had been there for a while, and she did not know how long. I watched as her eyes twitched as she tried to imagine what this thing was, and I'll put on screen what that paper is she wrote and the things she wrote. She'd been telling me things I'd never mentioned to her son, who I was friends with, and her. This is when I realized my belief was a lot more than before, and it had ever been. Things were a lot bigger than myself, a lot more to heaven, hell, and this earth we're walking on than you realize. After the session, I walked away feeling a little less weight on me, but a feeling of dread, knowing that there was something attached to me. Seeing her reaction while she was trying to figure out what was attached to me was haunting. Watching the look on her face as her eyes twitched when she was trying to communicate or see, or both, with whatever was attacking and attached to me. I walked away knowing there was something big going on, and that I needed to solve it. She had told me it was there, and it was not going to let me move on, and it was holding me, and enjoyed me not trying to fight it. A thing that I've recently been thinking about, and might even mention a few times in this video: ignorance is evil. Because I ignored it, and ignored the signs, it had got so much power. And what did I do after walking home and denouncing any ghostly spirits in my house? After this time, no poltergeist activity ever happened again. Whatever ghostly spirit did move on that day, but the dark presence was still there. And what did I do when I got home? I got high. Of course. Throughout January and February, I would off and on hike, getting more into photography, but also drowning in weed addiction. Early in December, I had been introduced to one of my good friends, who became like a brother to me, who was one of the solid pillars of why I'm here still today, from how much he let me speak. He was there a lot of the times we were smoking, and I gave him my life story in probably 2 nights. He was more than considerate, and actually ended up being an old friend from childhood who I got to reconnect with, and gladly I did. We continued these hangouts, and from what I remember, that's really all we did. Luckily, I was taking photos and videos almost all the time because I was trying to make memories for when I would not be here, so others could still watch them. I had mentioned that to my friends probably a few months back now. That's how I remember most of our hangouts from that time. Smoking, talking about our problems, taking funny ass videos, and just me trying to cope with what had happened in the worst way possible, and ignoring a dark, looming presence. After hiking a few times during blizzards, a guy from high school that I had only talked to a few times but I'd known for years, named Nico, was now one of my best friends. He had told me about his family's old property in town that had an old farmhouse and a land full of woods and a field. He had wanted me to make a video there because he had experienced paranormal experiences there before. This is also a video already on YouTube. This was the second to last video I posted before I ghosted, from how much was going on. During this video, we ended up exploring the property, and the eerie feeling automatically set in. We had gone in the woods, and not long into it, after enjoying the view of the night sky falling, Nico had ended up seeing a woman walk across the path, and I ended up hearing the footsteps through the mud. We continued walking. He continued telling me the history of the land and how it had always been a hunting spot for his family, but he knew something was wrong with that land. We got into the house, and I got a shot of it. He started talking about demonic entities. He started talking about how when you have God, they will not come for you. Then we realized the window in the house was open. After filming the window and seeing it open, I'd filmed the bottom window, and then we went inside to see if anybody was inside when they shouldn't have been. We'd gone inside, looked around, and I'd felt a terrible, terrible weight and a terrible gut feeling on me. I felt that we needed to get out of that house as soon as we could, and I didn't know why, knowing we didn't see anybody in there. As we'd walked up, we'd seen the window was now closed, as we'd just seen it open not even 20 seconds prior, which I also had on video. After getting out of the house, I'd grabbed a collector's alcohol bottle, and Nico had joked, "Damn dude, you're gonna be cursed from that." Nah, just kidding. And I laughed it off, but honestly got a bad feeling when he said that, and I went home. After the night, I felt my mental state tanking. 3 days after that night at the haunted property and farmhouse, I went through the footage to upload on YouTube. During that footage, I had noticed that when Nico was denouncing any demonic spirits, and we had noticed the window open, a figure is seen peeking its head out the window. Knowing we found no one in there, we knew this was supernatural. My reaction seeing this in the middle of the night, I was excited that I'd found solid evidence of the paranormal, not fully realizing what was going on or what I'd possibly rose up or brought back into my home. Weeks passed and I continued getting my stuff together, but also not quitting the weed. With late February and early March, realizing I had an issue and could not stop the weed. At that time, at least I realized that there was an issue rather than denying there not being one. 3 weeks after posting the video, I went through the footage and noticed that when I'd recorded that window, I'd also recorded another window, a downstairs one, and seen a figure in that window. And in this clip, Nico says, imagine if there's a face in that window. You can see a pale face and a blinking eye, possibly the same entity from upstairs or a very different one. Regardless, it had followed me home. Throughout March, I had another misunderstanding situation that almost ended in violence towards me, and it completely threw off my progress on how hard I'd been working to fix things. I hosted my 19th birthday at that haunted property. Of course, I hosted my 19th birthday at that property, co-hosted by Nico, of course. Things were chaotic. We ended up having to have an after party, which was just as fun with even more people. And from that point, I was destroyed. I could not live without the weed. I was barely eating, barely sleeping. I felt like I had been hit by a train every single morning, and this continued through April. Now one of my best friends at that time, we got heated, that eventually turned into me using self-defense, which I wish I never had to. I ended up fighting him, and after the short fight, I was so angry at him that I wanted to go again, knowing I just wanted to have my friend back. After a week of awkwardness, things were okay again, but it had done so much damage, and things were just so awkward between the group, and I don't think anyone was treating each other right. There were stages of not taking care of ourselves using weed. Several things changed, friends came and gone, and I tried continuing to cut down weed with nothing else to do. I lost my job, and I started looking. I started trying to sleep better, eat better, cut down on weed, and not go cold turkey for fear that I would collapse without it. During that time, I started looking towards God more than I did because I'd fell with it more in the last few months than I had ever in my entire life.
I decided to do a religious therapy with my pastor. She had only known about my depression and that I was in an abusive relationship in the past from my mother for asking for prayers for me. I never personally spoke with her other than greeting her in and out of church. Our 1 hour session turned into 6 hours, and during it, I solidified knowing that I had intuition. And intuition is the soulful feeling, and it even has biblical ties. To see, feel, hear, and know evil in human, deity, and any supernatural form. I realized what I had been experiencing my entire life and why these events happened to me like no other. Usually supernatural events are a one-off with common people. After this, I gained a lot of respect for my pastor. I'm glad I trusted her with her getting to know me and opening my eyes to it. After my mother, my pastor, and I all prayed over me and my well-being, with her also knowing and feeling that there was something going on around me and something coming for me. That prayer seemed to work. For 3 days, my mental became better. I felt like I could finally eat and my body wasn't in pain anymore. Until one night, me and Nico went to one of my neighbors' houses that we were friends with. We were sitting on the trampoline in the middle of the night hanging out. We were talking, the paranormal got brought up, and our friend had mentioned when she was a child, she used to see a demon with long, sharp, thin horns, and I said the words, "I've never seen a demon in full form before." As soon as I said that, Nico jolted up from the trampoline and looked toward the tree line. In this backyard, there was no fence. You had view of the neighbor behind, and in front of that, towards the road of the house behind us, there was a flower bed with 2 trees in it. As I looked where Nico was looking, thinking he was just over-exaggerating or messing around, I looked at the tree, and this photo is one I created in Photoshop. I didn't exactly have the mind to pull out my phone and record. I felt I was looking at the embodiment of evil. My first instinct was to pray. As my prayers went on, I realized how similar this looked to the story and accounts of my neighbor. It seemed to either take the form or mocked what we were talking about. As I prayed, it ducked behind the tree, slowly as if it was in pain. It was faking it.
The next night after seeing that in my neighbor's yard with Nico, my mom was setting the table for dinner and she had asked if someone else was in the backyard. After peeking out, I saw a shadow of a little boy or a young man walking across our backyard. The light was casted from our kitchen, hitting our neighbor's shed. It was as if a person or something was walking across hiding or crouching behind the bushes in our yard. From this point, I started praying even more instead of falling back in it. Continued to cut down on weed, fixed my mental state, and started trying to take my medicine again. I started hanging out more with friends and started trying to look for the good things in life. With almost 1 year of that graduation events happening, it felt as if I was reliving it again. When I was down, friends and I had the idea to go to a nice hiking spot on a cliff mountainside, and it was a nice time. That night we all went to the property, and during it, around 13 to 15 of us were all standing there, and they all started yelling, "Skinwalker." All of a sudden you started hearing whistling all throughout the forest line. After it stopped, Nico had yelled hello, and shortly after, you had seen a flash of light come through the tree line as if someone was walking on the property with a flashlight. Me, Nico, a friend, and his girlfriend all went to the light to find out if someone was trespassing. When we got to where the light originally was, we found no one. But that friend's girlfriend, she screamed in fear. She'd seen a glowing white orb. I stepped back, and they stepped back, and it became more clear as my eyes adjusted to the darkness. It was a pale humanoid figure crouching down, hyperventilating, pissed off, and it was staring directly at me. They ran as I felt frozen, stuck looking at this thing. It had no fur, it had glowing white skin, glowing white eyes, and I could not make out a face. I sprinted away, not being able to pull my knife out or my phone to get evidence. I sprinted away with them asking. We explained to the rest of the group what had happened, and people started to leave after a while. I told them, "You guys are gonna make this thing follow me to New York." Because earlier that day, I had learned my aunt was actually going to the ICU because she was losing her battle with cancer. The next day I went to New York.
Came back from the hospital. She's in good spirits and everything.
And it was a rough time, having to deal with the loss of a family member after I'd been so distant with everybody, even in my own household, that I'd felt I'd wasted time not saying goodbyes and not spending enough time with the ones I loved most. I spent as much time with her I could and explained to her what had happened to me the year prior and why I'd been so distant. She had been in town during my graduation and had met some of the people that had done these things and some of my friends. So she knew on a personal level what had happened, and she gave me the warmest hug I've ever had. She told me it was all okay and that I was just trying to get myself through, and I told her I had been smoking and I was trying to stop, and I was trying to get myself better with my sister. I promised her to her face on her second to last day that I would do anything to get myself back on track and get my life moving forward to where I had never been. It was very hard leaving her at that day because I did not want to stop talking to her, but from her being on her very last 24 hours, I had to let her rest. We ended up coming back the next day because we got notice that she didn't have much more time. With all my family surrounded and me holding the promise I'd given her, while also simultaneously going through the trauma of what happened the year prior, I had watched as she took her last few breaths in the ICU with all her family crying around. I feel in a beautiful sense that our conversation had repaired my dad's relationship, my motivation, and gave me the fight for what was to come next. Beautifully, the day before she had passed, she had got a flower set that looked exactly, and in her own words, looked like purple butterflies. From that point on, the rest of May and June, and I'm hoping even during the rest of this summer, I continue to see purple butterflies as a reminder of her. The same could be said with my grandfather who died when I was a kid. Kermit the Frog was always a running joke with both of my grandfathers, and after my grandfather on my dad's side, the one that had passed when I was a child, we'd always see frogs, even starting on the night of his funeral. I like to think that God uses his creatures to send a message to those who loved his creatures so much, just to let us know, without giving full and divine intervention, that the ones that are lost, that have been found by the Lord, are now okay and being kept safe. When I got back to town, I knew I had to get my shit together. At that point, I barely even wanted to smoke. I wanted to be outside and get my life on track. I started spending less time on my phone, less time smoking, and more time adventuring and getting my credentials ready to finally get into college and get the chance I got taken from me, that my addiction had stolen so horribly. Through June, there was great memories, going swimming, hanging out, and going to dinner.
In early June, the group and I decided to do a camping trip on the haunted property. We got a few of the guys together and set up pretty early. We let some other friends know and they came by to hang for a little bit. And one of our friends, who was a skeptic on the paranormal and questioning his belief and faith, he thought we were either exaggerating or scaring ourselves with the dark forest. So he came out there to hang with us but to also mess with us. He walked up and hung out with us for a while, and after I explained how we had been hearing footsteps and some whispering through the forest line for about an hour, he didn't really seem to buy it. Not even a few minutes later, he started hearing something as if someone was walking around, and then it turned into multiple sets of footsteps, with some branches breaking even farther out. We speed walked him to his car, and on the walk back, my friend Jacob and I had ended up seeing a pale figure in the tree line. Shortly after seeing it, it crouched down and then backed out, just as I'd seen 2 weeks prior. We got back to the campsite with my friend shortly after going back in the tent with the others sleeping. I stayed out by the fire, trying to test how long I could last out there. I lasted till about 3:30 in the morning. Footsteps became rampant, and I could not help but feel that something was going to come into the firelight. On the last couple minutes I was out there, I had recorded what had sounded like branches breaking all throughout the woods. After hearing that, I was really hesitant to go back to the tent and leave the firelight, but I put out the fire, went in the tent, and there wasn't another incident that night.
For the rest of June and July, I continued to cut down on weed, spend time with friends, and take more account into family life. The sentimental ties that were coming through from me sobering up a tiny bit were making me want to reach out and fix things, even if they couldn't be. But this ended up being a true calm before the storm. After a night of hanging out with a friend, I headed back to my house and tried to unlock my side door. It felt as if someone was on the other side, holding the knob or trying to turn at the same time, so I let go, assuming it was my dad. I waited and I waited for no one to open the door. Tried the door again, swung it open, and no one was there. I got a hot feeling on my neck that I did not know how to explain. It felt as if I was being watched. It almost felt that something was standing right in front of me, but I couldn't see anything. I got inside, recording the garage inside, showing that there was nobody there. My mother asked me to take the dog out, and when I did, I heard a tap on my dad's truck. I looked through the passenger and driver's side window to see a pale white face staring directly back at me. Not knowing if my unkept health was making me see things, I questioned what I saw, but screamed in terror. A loud dog walked over to it with its tail down and was whimpering. He had never done that in my dog's whole life. I got him inside, and I didn't say anything, not knowing if what had just happened really happened. Accounting for my dog's behavior, something was really there. I got into my room, with my friend shortly being on a phone call with me as soon as the tap happened. He tried to calm me down and told me to keep my mind off of it as we started playing video games. A rosary that my mother had given me a few years prior that I had hung on my closet door, it had started to swing back and forth. I thought it was just the airflow, then I realized my window was closed, the vent wasn't blowing anything, and my fan was off. I walked up to it and held it still, sat back down in my chair, just for it to start swinging again. This time I didn't get up, and I watched for over an hour as it swung back and forth, feeling that something was going to come at me any second. That night I played videos of Bible verses read and prayed the Lord's Prayer as I slept. Repeated the Lord's Prayer in tears until I exhaustingly fell asleep. Felt as if there was a force field around me protecting me from whatever was out there.
Next morning I woke up in a good mood. I got ready for my day, and as I looked at myself in the mirror, I couldn't recognize a thing about me, and I saw how frail and scrawny I'd become. In that instant, without really thinking, I grabbed something and attempted to take my life. Before I was able to do it, I felt a burning sensation on my arm and instantly thought to look at that mask that had been sitting on the wall for the past 2.5 years. It was a hollow feeling as I had felt from ghosts and haunted places I had visited. It instantly went away when I looked at it, and I was so distraught and so confused by this feeling that I forgot what I was doing in the first place, moved on with my day. I'd done this countless times throughout my life after an attempt. Maybe it was a way of coping, but in the most unhealthy way and burying it. But I'd done this several times, and this was just another day of it. From this day, a fly problem started. They would land on the mask and then on me, and for days it would do the same. Some days I would wake up from flies landing on me and watch as they flew right back to the mask. My household tried everything to get rid of these flies with sprays, cleaning. You can only deep clean your house so much in one day before the mental exhaustion and every other variable of what's going on hits you. Days after dealing with mysterious infestation, a friend had asked me to help him move out of his city apartment. During the move, I found a pipe in his apartment. I asked about it, and he told me it was a weed pipe from our friend Troy from years ago. I asked if I could have it when he told me it meant no value to him and that he was most likely going to toss it out, and I took it. Unfortunately, my mother was not able to attend my aunt's funeral. Going up there, the melancholy and the quietness was very hard to get through. Getting to see my aunt for her last few days was easy to accept the pill of her being gone, and I still stood by doing what I promised her. When I got back, I felt anew. I had told one of my best friends that had got me through so much that I wanted to completely stop smoking weed, and he was happy for me. The next day, 3 best friends and I celebrated one of their birthdays. I had not smoked in about a week, so I took a hit, and we all started talking and telling stories, enjoying our time with our friend whose birthday it was. In the middle of a story I'd somehow never told him, we were laughing, and I was rolling a video by accident without even realizing. All of a sudden, I'm standing up. Completely confused, I look at 2 of my friends as they stared at me in fear. And the other, whose birthday it was, tried to calm me down and assure me that I'm alright, but I need to calm down. I asked them what had happened, and they stood on that I should know. And I begged them to tell me what had happened and why I was now standing up. I realized what had changed with the room. They had told me during my story, I had randomly sat down on the bed, thrown my body off, uncontrollably moved, and then spoke an unintelligible tongue, and then stood up. All of that movement caused a chair to flip, soda to spill, and items to be thrown across the room. I had no recollection of this, and to this day I still do not. When they had told me this, I felt as if there was a tendril inside my throat. I ran to the bathroom and started throwing up. They told me I was in there for about 15 minutes. During it, I was in a fear state, not knowing what was going on, but could feel something all throughout my body, like it was trying to come out. After I was done throwing up, I almost collapsed to the floor and tried to go for the doorknob to leave the bathroom. As I did, I felt as the door was pulled back, and looking through the crack on the other side of the door, I saw no one was standing there. I let go of the doorknob and watched as the door slammed. I kept trying the doorknob again and again and again, as to someone holding it with immense strength. More and more I would see that there was no one standing on that other side of the door. After a few minutes I gave up and watched as the door slammed back into place, and I fell to the ground in tears. I got the courage to get up, and I finally got the door open. I ran to my friend's room, asking my friends if it was them, knowing I saw no one on the other side of the door, and described to them what had just happened. They told me it wasn't them. They had stayed in their room talking. And again, I knew deep down it was not them. After them consoling me that it was not them, I got on my phone to calm myself down, and
I'd seen my face as if someone had slammed it down on a sink counter or on solid ground. It looked as if my face was smushed in all through here, and that it looked incaved. I started touching my face, trying to see if it was actually done, because the damage I saw through my eyes looked as if I would have died any second and should have already been dead. My friends had to touch my face and tell me it was okay as I screamed to call 911. They got me snapped out of it, and I eventually fell right back into it. And I'm so thankful that they were there in that moment to let me know that I was not actually physically hurt. That is very hard to talk about, but to this day I don't know if it was a bad omen, a green out, or both. And honestly, I don't want to know. And I pray to God it's not a bad omen for what's to come. But sadly, that wasn't the rest of that night. With it still being my friend's birthday, we all went to one of the main guys' houses, and he had a little birthday party hosted for him. When we had went, I mentioned the encounter. Some of them were teasing me a little bit until I explained how fearful I was. One of the guys ended up being Catholic, and I found out that night, and he started praying for me. And during the prayer, I felt that there was something alongside with us in that property. Someone threw out the idea of everyone separately go get food and come back. So 2 of my friends ended up driving me to mine so I could get my keys since I would be late coming into my home that night. As I was searching for my key, I was looking through shorts pockets on my floor. In reality, the keys were actually in my bathroom. While looking for my keys, I felt a hot, sharp pain on my right arm. I looked at that paper mache mask. That was the first time I'd got a weird feeling from it. Again, I looked at it as a holy object, an object of light, something good and something protecting. Up until this night, I'd got that same feeling, but it was more violent. And it felt as if someone had thrown a pot of boiling water all over my right arm. And I looked at the mask, and I watched as this thing grew eyelids. It opened its eyes I never made, and grew a mouth that I never created. It looked left, then right, and then at me, and opened its mouth to about here. I looked at the rosary, and then it looked at the rosary too, and then back at me, and then it opened its mouth even more. And I felt that the hot pain on my arm was even worse, and it felt when I took one step towards that rosary, it felt as if there was something scratching me in this pace, alongside the boiling feeling on my arm. And in that time, my arm was red. Even in all the pain, I went for the rosary, I held it above the hung mask, looked at it and at me, and started mouthing something while staring me directly in the eyes. I could not hear what it was saying, but I knew it was chanting something. Even with all the heat, I grabbed the mask. In that moment, I lost faith, thinking that it would somehow burn it up, turn it off to no avail. I ended up grabbing it off the wall. It burnt my hands when I did. Passed it hand to hand to hand until I got to a spare bedroom, threw it in there, and then threw that pipe in there too. Because I had noticed when I brought that pipe into my home, a fly problem had started. Things started piecing together in the moment. The fly problem had started very small the day before I got that pipe. I brought the pipe back into my home. A few flies turned into hundreds, so I thought the pipe could have been evolved, in which I was right. I threw the pipe and the mask in the spare bedroom and locked the door. After Carson yelling, I went downstairs and showed him the video, because I had been videotaping the entire thing, starting at the point of me feeling the burning. I got in the car with the other friend waiting, and in the back seat I pulled my phone to the front and pressed play. Friends watched in horror as the mask personificated. It was something I never thought was possible, and only something a movie cliche or something you see in fiction. This is the night I truly believed that hell seeps into our world, and again, the ignorance of evil gives it power. Trauma and horrid actions of evil done to others fuels it. I eventually got back to the party. One of the guys in the car already texted the group about what had happened. Everyone surrounded the table as I got in the middle and put my phone down. I searched for that video through every part of my camera roll, every app, even the deleted, and it was gone. Only sense of belief in that group I had was getting them to admit that they saw the video too. For me asking them several times with them still being quiet for what they saw, one said yes, and another nodded. We talked about what had happened and how freaked out I was. I could see the look on my friend's face whose birthday it was, and I knew that it was partially ruining it. Even though something from hell happened, I still didn't want to ruin his day. I tried to stay quiet with racing thoughts on what the hell happened to me. And shortly after, the party ended and I went home. I didn't get a ride back that night, so I had to walk. Even with it being a short walk, it was like a horror movie. I felt at any moment it was going to get me and take control of me again, and in which I still didn't remember. And then to this day, I still don't remember what happened when I lost consciousness in that room. If you don't smoke, and if you just don't know, memory gaps are not possible with weed. That night, I texted Troy and asked him where that pipe truly came from. He needs to call me as soon as he wakes up. Now I fell asleep on the downstairs couch, not wanting to go face what was upstairs in my home. In the morning, I woke up to worried text from Troy, telling me that I should have never had that pipe and how I even got it in the first place. He told me to call him as soon as I woke up, and I got on the phone with him, and what he told me still shakes me. He told me that pipe was used in a demonic ritual with a satanic group in Richmond. It had even been involved in something violent, and it had also been used and smoked out of with PCP, meth, fentanyl, and other substances. I have no recollection of being told of what was used in this pipe or its origins, but I think with the haunting past and the evil around that pipe and what was done with it, I think it was enough energy to pull this thing over for what it did to me. Because you look into demonology and that's what their goal is, to bring you to hell. The rest of that morning I contacted Catholics, Christians, people that mess with black magic, people that used to mess with black magic, atheists, agnostics, went on Reddit forums, posted on Instagram on a blank screen asking for help if anyone knew about anything with demonic, possessed, or attached items, and on Snapchat. Hundreds of people saw it. Dozens thought I was joking. One person through Instagram, and we weren't even following each other, lived in New Orleans, told me about Santeria. They had told me that in this culture, there are masks that get made, energy masks that are used to give the user powers, but they have to use rituals or even sacrifice to gain these powers. These masks hold demonic energy and can bring a curse upon the user and the people around it. And if you remember, or if you scroll back to that part of the video, but I'd mentioned when I made that mask, I wrote my name on the inside of it. I hung that mask up on my wall in April of 2023 and taken it off that wall and sprinted it into the spare bedroom in July of 2025. It had been feeding off of me that entire time. That same morning, I had a good friend of mine whose boyfriend is Haitian and his family is from Haiti. They went even further and told me that this thing had been draining me. And they went and confirmed, it even solidified the fact of the curse and how I'd accidentally made a demonic mask and I brought it onto myself. This whole era of my life where I was joked that I was cursed, I was actually cursed. And I look back on all the horrible events that happened and knew, and deep down know, That's not what made these people choose what they did, but I think that's what led me on the path of it, and how I didn't actually take God seriously, and how I didn't take my faith seriously, didn't take my health and mental, physical, soulful, how I didn't take anything seriously, and again, took ignorance of evil, that it didn't have a reason to react and didn't have a reason to show itself. But when I started changing my life, finding God, reading the Bible, cleaning up my act, and actually getting motivation, it was pissed because it knew its time was coming and it would no longer be satisfied living inside that mask. That day I planned on getting rid of it, and I researched and got advice from friends, and that friend had come over to sage my home. And during the saging, we had done my mother's room and then mine, and during it, I started burning in my arm. You could see a red streak on my arm in that video. It felt as if someone with very sharp nails or sharp claws had been sitting right next to me, clawing my arm. During that day, my mom also mentioned the fly issue. She had also mentioned how her blinds had been getting opened for months. I walked her out, watched her drive away, and then at my mom's bedroom window, I saw it peeking out, the exact same figure I'd seen in the driveway when it tapped my dad's truck. From this, there was only a select few I could ask. Most of them were scared. A few of them said no with no reason, and I don't blame them. And there was 3 that said yes. The rest, I couldn't exactly go to them because how am I going to go to someone and ask, hey, you want to help me bury a cursed object? When a lot of them had seen previous evidence and known this was real. Nico was going to help, but he ended up having work, and he asked to do it the next day, and I told him no. I was not going to have them in my house another day, but he was there in spirit. So me and a friend I had met when I was 12 years old in a science class that I played PlayStation with for years, and another that I met right before my junior year, they helped me bury a cursed object. So that night we planned. I had 2 other friends drive me to the haunted house location, and I brought that bottle back I had taken that winter because I felt that might have been connected and I wasn't taking any chances. I threw out items that I felt I could not move on with and that kept so much trauma in my mindscape. After doing both of those things, we set out, and with 3 locations attempted, 1 working, we went out into the night.
Something in the water. 5 fish. I mean, it's just like he's digging into concrete.
This isn't a good area, man. I don't know what to do. I heard something. Alright, we're good. Alright, keep going. I'm feeling burning on my arm. Huh? It's all distraction. You see the mask doesn't move. I left the pipe in front of the mailbox for Alex. Alex got there, the pipe was gone.
Walk prudently when you go to the house of God, and draw near to hear rather than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they do not know that they do evil. Do not be rash with your mouth, and let not your heart utter any... Oh, my flashlight. Anything...
Stop recording?
Yeah. Anything... What is happening to my flashlight? Yeah. When you make a vow to God, do not delay to pay it, for he has no pleasure in fools.
We need to do something with flat ground.
We have to. We need to get out of here. That's what we need to do.
Dude, I still saw your eyes behind you.
There's an evil which I have seen under the sun, and it is common among men.
Get everything and go. Keep going.
Can you knock it over that?
I can. I was getting ready to spider web and wait for him. We're right there. We're right there. We're right there. Follow me.
We're there. I see a house.
Yeah, we're right there. We're out.
I can't believe my light started flickering as I was reading a Bible.
Just making sure it's still in there. I mean, I don't know what my belief system is all over the place right now, man.
Why is it working better now? It just died.
Do you guys see something glowing through there? Yes.
What? Jesus answered and said to them, go tell John the things which you hear and see. Lepers are cleansed and the deaf hear. So now it's burning. I think it's a bit.
You take it, you put like drip it down like that, and then flip it back up. It's a little bit on your finger. Do a cross on your forehead. All right, and then Jacob, you do the same. I already did.
Why did my light flicker and now my mouth is burning when I try to read the Bible?
He wants you to stop. That's why.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For you are with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Therefore the Lord will return your wickedness on your own head.
All three of us left different people that night, especially me. I made them walk away after the last prayer, and I looked down at that mask, and I thought about every traumatic thing I'd ever gone through. All the violence, the sexual abuse, the hurt, the silence of it, the cocoon I had made for myself, not realizing it had actually formed into divine evil. I played all the moments of the vile and the wicked in my head, and I felt as if everything was leaving me. All the pain and the trauma I'd gone through in my life, especially the last couple of years, felt as if it was leaving me. Walking away from it felt as if I was leaving my old life. It's almost I wanted to step back, but I couldn't. I'd felt hands trying to grab for me, and I'd felt that it didn't want me to go. But I knew deep down, somewhere, that I was scared because it no longer had authority over me. I don't know what would have happened if I didn't have them, and I didn't have God's mercy over us that night. Leaving the pipe outside, we ran into my home. One of the guys went through the footage, and I had put it all together. I'd kept drowsing off from fear and exhaustion, because the last 3 days had been absolute hell. I'd kept getting woken up by him, by taps on the shoulder, to him showing me what he had found. In the background are Tristan and Jacob. As we were anointing ourselves with the holy water, crazy enough the holy water is from Virgin Mary's house. As we anointed ourselves, you can see a figure in the back, and I and many others believe this is the true form of what I was dealing with. Through my friend's lips burning, the flashlight blinking, my aggressiveness, the body twitch, the feeling of cobwebs, and feeling like I was going through a furnace. I believe I was possessed. I still can't remember what happened to me when I lost my autonomy days prior to this. I want this to be a warning of the divine evil, a warning of the human wickedness and the lost morality compass that so many are failing to see or have. That witchcraft
the dark arts, messes with others, or your life, you do not get to play God or play with this world and expect something not to be there waiting for what you owe. The morning after, I was lighter. The house seemed to let more sunlight in, mysteriously like it didn't before. I felt all the weight off me. I was only exhausted from the hell I'd faced the last 3 days. I had told some friends over text message, and I went to hang out with some of my friends at one of the guys' houses. I explained and restated what had happened and showed the evidence, and I was met with interest and on another side, indifference, in the case of disbelief for so many that had witnessed such evil. I had started working a few days after, trying to get myself stable again. Even though the true evil was gone, what it had done to me, knowing I was used as a pawn to drain energy for years, I had no idea what to do now. I had known weed was some sort mixed in this, clearing my head by cutting down. Me getting my life together again made it easier for the haunting to try everything to get me to stop. Even though I knew I needed to quit, I still struggled. I thought if I took little breaks in between, a few days to a week, it would be better, but each time I did, it would put me in a PTSD fear state, making me feel like I was reliving that night of the mask. No matter how much I took, and I started to be a hypochondriac, thinking every little pain in my body, whether I was high or not, was a true injury. It was severely messing me up, and not actually trying to process through what happened that night. Through all of August, I dealt with extreme paranoia and obsession trying to figure out what exactly happened to me and how those entities operate. I delved deep into it and found myself not being able to not talk about it. I relied a lot on my friends for coping with what happened, but they were just as clueless as me. I was the one experiencing more in this field, but at the end of the day, I just needed my brothers to comfort me, let me know that it was over and I was safe. I found some of the pillars that kept me here, and I thought I was holding up too, were not too stable. Soon it felt like things were a facade, and I felt myself losing grip, and I started to feel like a puzzle piece that didn't fit, whether it be the weed, whether it be what happened, whether it be me wanting to get right with God. It seemed that I didn't belong in this place anymore, and it's still hard coping with that. We all know how life is. There's heartbreak, there's fun, there's love, there's mystery, there's sadness. Things get boring. They can be dangerous. Being out of the curse and deciding to go sober, I started to realize that things were normal, that I could actually see myself living a future. I had enrolled in an HVAC class. Shortly after, I started talking to a new girl. I had fully opened up to what had happened within a couple days of knowing her, because I felt I had no one else to. And through the paranoia and the PTSD I was dealing with daily, it was a big relief having someone that I could rely on in my first healthy relationship. It was fun, it was sweet, it was new, it was something I needed. After going back and forth struggling with weed withdrawal, one day in October, I had been coughing excessively after smoking, and I ended up ripping my rib cartilage. Started taking more account of my health, and it took me until the end of October to actually take it serious. On October 26th, I had gotten to that relationship officially, and that was also the last night I had smoked weed. I'll be 1 year October 26th. I'm very proud to say that. I hosted a really fun Halloween party with my best friend Nico, and getting to see a party I planned be fruitful and my friends have a good time really cured some things in me after so much. Just because the curse is broken doesn't mean the woods still aren't haunted. A month prior, a friend and I had gone out to take photos and walk on a path at night, and we had heard something walking down the hill in the darkness through the leaves. As we walked out, we saw a white orb turn into a silhouette of a man dance crossing a path behind us as we walked out. A few days after the Halloween party, that same friend and I had gone out in the woods again and apart on the other side of the forest. As soon as we stepped out about 15 feet, you could hear rustling in the leaves, and then looking past about 100 feet back, you could see 4 pairs of white eyes. Somehow, whatever it was, had not made any noise moving back that far. See them ducking up and down and blinking. We tried to shine our lights on whatever it was, but it was just too dark. The aggressiveness in the movement, and the low growls you could hear, I'm still not sure what we ran into. We ran back into the house. At that point, I continued my HVAC class and getting through the PTSD. In December, things seemed a little off with some of them. From the moment of that end of summer, I tried to figure out why, and I still couldn't. I had hosted a Christmas party and invited all my best friends, and things seemed to be okay, just like old times. I opened up a little bit. I was still scared of what happened. From the conversations, things seemed okay. I enjoyed Christmas with my family a few days later, and my sister had ended up coming by with her fiance. We talked and laughed like we hadn't done since we were kids. It was nice seeing that something was growing from so much pain, so much time missing out from each other.
I hosted a New Year's party with the same people, and it was just as fun as the Christmas one. It was nice getting to spend New Year's with so many people I love, and again, living instead of surviving. From this point, I delved back into my depression, and I still was working through the withdrawal, even though I had quit months prior. It was hard to be outside at night, or even know that it was dark outside. I'd feel and remember in flashes about what happened in those woods, in fear of it coming back. I tried to stay strong for my relationship, for myself and my family. I tried not to put all the weight on my friends, but I guess it wasn't enough. My birthday lands on March 24th, and at the beginning of March, I had a huge plan for my 20th birthday. I wanted it not just a party for me, but also for all the people I loved around. It was a way to appreciate and tell them all how much I'd been struggling, but that I loved them and they were keeping me here, and we needed to celebrate. I tried everything I could to make it a good party, but the people I loved so much seemed to have such disinterest in me. A few days after my actual birthday hit, I wanted to have a small thing at my house, and I invited some close friends. Only one came. The majority of the rest forgot my birthday. After getting upset, I had found out that I was not looked at as a friend for the last 8 months, but they just didn't know how to tell me. I tried everything I could for the next month and a half to figure out what I had done, how I could fix it, if it could be fixed. I wanted nothing for things to go back to how they were and just let them know I needed support. But again, it wasn't enough, and I wish it was. I had been moping around the rest of the spring. I guess it was too much for my now recent ex to handle. In life, you're not always going to find people that are compatible, and that's not a bad thing. You're also not going to find people that equal out in beliefs or feelings, and that can cause rifts in friends or family relationships, and that's also okay. It doesn't make them bad people. They were good for you for a time. And one thing I learned that stuck with me, you told me in a conversation when I asked why aren't we playing music, and she said sometimes quiet is good. With meaning or not, it stuck with me, because sometimes the quiet is good, because you find yourself complaining about it being calm right before a storm. Long after I unfortunately had been broken up with. For the next month, it destroyed me. I tried all I could to do right and fix things, but again, not everyone's compatible, especially with the beliefs. And again, not always people match up. Sometimes you have to let go, but I don't hear people talk about too much. You have to let yourself be let go. You have to feel the arms pulling away. Even when you tried so hard to get up and stand equal to that person, you have to let go too. Since last summer, I'd always thought about doing something like this, because a story like this is too powerful. For the last 8 months, I've been writing. For the last 2 months, I've been filming and editing. Reviewing my work on this project made me cope so much more than I thought I could. And now I know, truly, I need to rely on myself. I need to be proud of what I've gone through, not scared of it, to live in forgiveness of others that have hurt me. I still have an open arms policy with all of them, with all of you. If we've never talked, reach out. If we used to, reach out. If you're struggling, reach out. If you're struggling with addiction, sexual assault, domestic violence, come to me. Go to your family, seek a therapist, go to a rehab meeting, go to church. And I pray you find forgiveness within yourself to forgive what has been done to you and what you've done to others. Because I know I did. Just know at the end of the day, I'm proud of you, your family's proud of you, God's proud of you. And things are gonna be okay. Because after all of this, I can say that I'm proud of humanity. And I know we still have a fighting chance at a good world. The one we were promised as we were growing up. Know that there are deep powers within this world, supernatural and not. Things aren't as structured as you may think. Things are not as they seem. Do your research. Dig. Review what was taught. You'll find the truth, and I know you'll find yourself. I forgive all of what was done to me. Again, I can hope you do the same. The curse being gone, I'm still aware that this world is still haunted. I actually took over a demonic haunting through my bravery of getting over this PTSD of what happened, to feel that there was nothing more powerful than the word of God coming out of the mouth of a believer. I cleansed a family friend's home, and during it, I'd felt dark energy the whole time. I'd made the others go downstairs while I swept through each room. I'd gone for the main bedroom that I'd felt the worst feeling through the whole time. During it, the closet was now closed, and I heard a growl through it. I had opened the closet, recited the Lord's Prayer, and closed the closet. I continued reciting the Lord's Prayer and blessing the room as I heard a floorboard shift, and then I saw a shadow of a man on the wall, where a shadow shouldn't have been casted from the amount of light coming in. I kept praying and felt the house was cleansed, but left with an uneasy feeling. 2 weeks later, as I was filming this, I was recording a part in my bedroom to overlay audio. During it, I was talking about how my pastor helped me so much through the religious therapy and how she made me realize I have true intuition. During it, as I'm saying, we could feel everything around me. You could see a cold, dead hand pop into frame. Looks to be a horn right after. I'd finished recording that, went into edit, and saw that. I've blessed my home since then, and I feel it's over. I don't have confidence that it'll come back with me having a clear mind and true faith in the Lord. A thief doesn't rob an empty house. You're being attacked by people, by spirits, by the world. You're valuable of something.
Hearing and seeing my story has been several people's Christian testimonies, and I hope this can be one for you, or at least a seed of belief for you.
My name is Stephen Robert Flock, and this is my story.
Guys, it's my fault.